Story 1. The last duty. In the twilight of a dense forest, Samurai Takeda Hiroyuki stood surrounded by enemies. His entire life had been dedicated to serving his daimyo, protecting the lord's castles, family, and lands. But this battle was different. The enemy forces outnumbered his by tenfold, and betrayal within his own ranks had left him with only a handful of loyal warriors. Hiroyuki knew this was his final stand. His duty forbade retreat. In his hand, he held his trusted katana, an heirloom passed down by his father. The blade gleamed in the dying rays of the sun, as though thirsting for vengeance. Forward, he commanded his men. The thunder of horses' hooves and the cacophony of clashing steel filled the air. Hiroyuki moved silently amidst the chaos, like a shadow, delivering precise and deadly strikes. Every movement was a reflection of years of rigorous training and unyielding discipline. His war cries pierced the air, instilling fear in the hearts of his enemies. As he fought, memories surfaced, his father teaching him the principles of honor, respect, and loyalty. "Duty above all else, my son," his father would say. Back then, the words seemed like a simple lesson. Now, they defined his very existence. One of the attackers, wielding two swords, lunged at Hiroyuki. Sidestepping the strikes with effortless grace, Hiroyuki disarmed the assailant with a single, fluid motion. His movements were swift as the wind, yet his heart remained calm as a still pond. Amidst the battle, Hiroyuki noticed a young soldier from his unit fall to the ground. Without hesitation, he rushed to the boy's side, shielding him from oncoming blows. "Lord Takeda, I can't fight anymore," the boy gasped, clutching a wound on his side. "Hold on. We must endure," Hiroyuki said firmly, his voice unwavering yet kind. The fight raged on for hours. As the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness enveloped the battlefield, Hiroyuki's body ached with exhaustion, but his resolve remained unbroken. Just as hope seemed lost, reinforcements emerged from the forest, warriors Hiroyuki had called upon before the battle began. The enemy forces were routed. Though Hiroyuki's wounds were deep, he stood tall, his katana still in hand. "We endured," he said to his men, "because we fought for honor and duty." Those words were etched into the hearts of all who survived. Takeda Hiroyuki became a legend, a symbol of how a true samurai faces the end, with unwavering resolve and loyalty, even when all seems lost. Story 2. The Blade of Redemption. The village of Ichinos was ablaze. Flames crackled and roared as bandits pillaged the homes, their laughter echoing through the night. Amid the chaos, an old man knelt in the dirt, clutching a tattered scroll close to his chest. Behind him stood a figure cloaked in shadows, a samurai whose armor bore scars of countless battles. His name was Akamoto Renjiro, a ronin who had long since abandoned his lord after a grievous dishonor. He had roamed the countryside for years, his katana sheathed, unwilling to draw it for any cause. Redemption, he thought, was a luxury he could never afford, but tonight was different. Renjiro had stumbled upon the burning village by chance. The cries of innocent villagers pierced his soul, awakening a part of him he had long buried. The old man at his feet extended the scroll with trembling hands. "Please," the elder pleaded, "this is the ancestral record of our village. It cannot be lost to these monsters." Renjiro hesitated. He had sworn to never wield his blade again. Yet, the weight of the scroll in his hands felt like a call to action, a chance to reclaim his honor. He unsheathed his katana, its blade gleaming like the moonlight piercing the darkness. "Stay hidden. I will return," he said, his voice steady but heavy with unspoken emotion. Renjiro moved like a specter through the chaos. His first strike was silent, the blade finding its mark with precision. The bandits had grown complacent, drunk on their spoils. One by one, they fell, their laughter turning to screams. As Renjiro cut through the ranks, he encountered their leader, a towering brute wielding a massive axe. The men sneered. "A ronin. Do you think you can stop me?" Renjiro remained silent, his katana raised in a perfect stance. The leader charged, his axe cleaving through the air. Renjiro sidestepped the attack and struck, his blade slicing through the brute's armor. It was over in seconds. The village was saved. As dawn broke, the villagers emerged from their hiding places, their faces etched with gratitude and awe. Renjiro returned the scroll to the elder. "You have saved us," the old man said, bowing deeply. "What is your name, noble samurai?" Renjiro looked at the rising sun, the light warming his face. "Akimoto Renjiro. A man seeking redemption." With that, he walked away, his katana once again sheathed. Though his journey was far from over, he felt the first stirrings of peace in his heart. Story 3, The Silent Duel. The winds howled through the mist-covered forest, carrying the faint scent of pine and earth. Beneath the canopy of towering trees, two figures stood face to face in a clearing, their breaths visible in the chill of dawn. Takahashi Haruto, a samurai loyal to the daimyo of Kai province, tightened his grip on his katana. Opposite him stood his challenger, a mysterious ronin known only as the Phantom Blade. The ronin's tattered kimono and weathered straw hat belied his reputation as a master swordsman who had never lost a duel. Haruto had been tasked with eliminating the ronin, who had become a thorn in the side of local lords. The daimyo had warned him, the Phantom Blade fights with silence and shadows. Trust not your eyes but your instincts. The two warriors exchanged no words. The clearing was their battlefield, and their swords would be their voices. The duel began with a single step. Haruto advanced, his katana flashing in a downward arc. The Phantom Blade moved like a ghost, sidestepping the strike and countering with a swift slash. Haruto barely deflected it, his blade singing as it met steel. For minutes that felt like hours, the two men danced through the clearing, their swords clashing in a symphony of death. Haruto's disciplined techniques clashed with the ronin's unorthodox, fluid movements. The Phantom Blade seemed to predict his every move, each attack countered with precision and ease. Then, Haruto noticed it, a pattern in the Phantom Blade's movements, a subtle rhythm that revealed his strategy. Haruto feigned an opening, luring the ronin into a strike. As the Phantom Blade moved in, Haruto pivoted, his katana slicing through the air with calculated precision. The ronin froze, his sword raised but his body still. A single line of red bloomed across his chest, and his sword fell to the ground. Haruto stepped back, lowering his blade in respect. "You have learned well," the Phantom Blade said, his voice a whisper. He knelt on the forest floor, his strength waning. "My purpose was to test you, Haruto. To see if you could overcome doubt and fear with clarity of mind. You have passed." Haruto's eyes widened. "You knew my name." The Phantom Blade smiled faintly. "I was once like you, sworn to a lord. I sought honor in death but found wisdom in life. Carry this lesson with you, samurai, strength lies not in the sword but in the heart." With those words, the ronin closed his eyes, his body falling limp. Haruto stood in silence, the weight of his victory settling heavily on his shoulders. He buried the Phantom Blade beneath a towering pine tree, marking the grave with a simple stone. As he left the forest, Haruto vowed to honor the lesson he had learned, not through conquest, but through understanding. Story 4, The Chrysanthemums. Betrayal. The village of Tsuyama lay nestled in a serene valley, surrounded by hills blanketed in golden chrysanthemums. But the beauty of the landscape belied the tension simmering beneath the surface. A faction of the daimyo's retainers had conspired against their lord, and Tsuyama was their secret meeting ground. Samurai Kanemoto Riku was sent to infiltrate the conspiracy. Riku was known for his intelligence and loyalty, his blade sharp but his mind sharper. The daimyo had entrusted him with an artifact, a delicate chrysanthemum pin, crafted from gold and jade, that symbolized his allegiance. Riku arrived in Tsuyama disguised as a wandering merchant. His unassuming attire and cart of wares concealed his true purpose. He spent days observing the villagers, listening to whispers, and piecing together the network of traders. He discovered that the conspirators were led by Mori Kenshin, a former samurai whose ambitions had turned him into a shadow of his honorable self. One evening, Riku followed Mori to a clandestine meeting held in an abandoned sake brewery on the outskirts of the village. Hidden in the rafters, he overheard the plot, an ambush planned for the daimyo during the autumn harvest festival. The details were chillingly precise. Riku's presence did not go unnoticed. A sharp whistle pierced the air, and Mori's men, armed and alert, swarmed the building. "Who lurks in the shadows?" Mori's voice echoed, his tone laced with menace. Riku leapt down from the rafters, his hand on his katana. "I am Kanemoto Riku, servant of the daimyo. Your treachery ends here." The ensuing battle was a whirlwind of steel and fury. Riku's blade was a blur, cutting through the dim light of the brewery. Mori's men were skilled, but their loyalty was shallow. Fear and greed weakened their resolve. One by one, they fell, leaving Mori to face Riku alone. The two warriors clashed in the moonlit courtyard. Mori fought with a brutal, unrefined style, his strikes heavy and relentless. Riku countered with grace and precision, his movements like a flowing river. The fight reached its climax when Riku disarmed Mori, his katana pointed at the traitor's throat. "You were once a samurai," Riku said, his voice steady. "How did you fall so far?" Mori sneered. "Honor means nothing in a world ruled by greed. I sought power where your daimyo clings to ideals." Riku shook his head. "Honor is not a relic of the past, it is the foundation of the future." With a swift motion, he struck Mori with the hilt of his sword, rendering him unconscious. Riku returned to his lord with the chrysanthemum pin intact and the plot unraveled. The daimyo praised his courage and wisdom, rewarding him with the title of chief retainer. But Riku did not seek accolades. His thoughts lingered on Mori and the men like him, samurai who had lost their way. As the harvest festival commenced, Riku stood watch over his lord, the golden chrysanthemums swaying in the breeze. Their beauty reminded him of the fragility of honor and the strength it took to uphold it. Story 5, The Silent Blade. In the dead of night, a shadow moved through the dense bamboo forest surrounding the castle of Lord Asakura. The moonlight filtered through the leaves, casting fragmented patterns on the ground. The figure, clad in black and moving with the precision of a ghost, was Ishida Akemi, a female samurai tasked with the unthinkable, assassinating Lord Asakura. Akemi was not an ordinary samurai. Born into a low-ranking family, she had risen through the ranks by sheer determination and unmatched skill. Her loyalty, however, did not lie with Lord Asakura. Her true allegiance was to Lord Takeda, Asakura's sworn enemy. For years, Akemi had served as a spy, embedded in Asakura's court under the guise of a personal attendant. Tonight was the culmination of her years of subterfuge. Akemi reached the castle walls, her footsteps silent on the forest floor. She carried no lantern, her eyes adjusted to the darkness. Her weapons, 2 wakizashi blades and a pouch of throwing needles, were strapped tightly to her belt. She scaled the wall with ease, her hands finding purchase on the uneven stones. Inside the castle, she navigated the labyrinthine corridors with the confidence of someone who had walked them countless times. The guards, trusting their familiarity with her, paid her no heed as she passed. She slipped into the inner sanctum, where Asakura's private chambers lay. As she approached, her heart pounded, not with fear, but with resolve. She opened the sliding door to his room, her blade drawn. The faint glow of an oil lamp illuminated the figure of Lord Asakura, sitting calmly on a tatami mat. "Ishida Akemi," he said, his voice steady. "I have been expecting you." Her grip on the wakizashi tightened. "Then you know why I am here." Asakura nodded. "You served me well, even in your deceit. But your path ends here." From the shadows emerged 3 of Asakura's most loyal retainers, their swords gleaming in the lamplight. Akemi, undeterred, sprang into action. Her blade clashed with theirs, the room erupting into chaos. Despite being outnumbered, her movements were a symphony of precision and grace. She dispatched 2 of the retainers with swift, calculated strikes. The third proved more formidable, his strength forcing her onto the defensive. Their duel spilled out into the courtyard, the sound of steel echoing through the night. Asakura watched from the shadows, a mix of admiration and apprehension in his eyes. Akemi's skill was unparalleled, but her fate seemed sealed as reinforcements rushed to the scene. In a daring maneuver, Akemi feigned a retreat, drawing the remaining retainers into a narrow corridor. There, their numbers worked against them. One by one, they fell until only Asakura remained. The two faced each other, swords drawn. "You are a remarkable warrior," Asakura said, his tone almost regretful. "But loyalty to a traitor like Takeda is a waste." "Loyalty is not given, it is earned," Akemi replied. "And you, my lord, have earned none." Their duel was brief but intense. Akemi's speed and agility overwhelmed Asakura's strength. With a final strike, she ended his life, her blade piercing his heart. The castle fell silent, the only sound the wind rustling through the bamboo. Akemi sheathed her blade and disappeared into the night, her mission complete. She left behind a legacy not of treachery, but of unwavering resolve and unmatched skill, a reminder that even in a world of shadows, honor could be found in the most unexpected places.